Please won't you pray with me? May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts together find their way into the heart of God this morning. Amen. The law of love wins out over the letter of the law. That's what St. Paul tells us in his letter to the Galatians. Before faith came, he says, we were imprisoned by rules about who is in and who is out. Jesus came to reveal to us that we are all in, he says. We are all children of the same God. All of us belong in the family. We are all heirs according to the promise. We don't have to take Paul's word for it. Jesus, of course, is asked by a lover of the law, a lawyer, in the story of the Good Samaritan, what is the greatest commandment? And what does he say? What does he say?
Love the Lord God.
And love thy neighbor. Right. Love God and love your neighbor. The lawyer asks for a loophole. Who is my neighbor? And Jesus answers, the one who helps the bloody person lying in the road. And the real loophole, that neighbor is of a different tribe, does not even practice the same religion. So Jesus is the head of the church, but humans love rules, and humans love tribes, and humans love drawing lines, and humans love casting people out. And the church is full of what? Humans! That's right. God bless us, everyone. So right here in Worcester, right here in our backyard, front yard, backyard? Where is Worcester? That way. Backyard, front yard. We have an example of this idolatry of legalism this week, don't we? The Catholic Diocese of Worcester made national news this weekend when the bishop, Robert McManus, disciplined the Nativity School in Worcester. Have you all heard of the Nativity School in Worcester? Yes. And what was their crime? The administration raised rainbow and Black Lives Matter flags in front of the school. And I need to preface this story by saying that I love the Catholic Church. I just came from a retreat at a nunnery. I got thee to a nunnery out in Maine. And I love the Catholic Church, and I know many of us carry wounds from past churches, and the Catholic Church is no exception. But there's no Catholic bashing here at First Church, right? None. The Catholic Church is not a monolith, and the priests I know here in this community are actually disgusted by this story. The Nativity School, standing strong in the spirit of Jesus, is part of the Catholic Church too, right? As Holy Cross, who founded it, is. Hypocrisy in leadership and falling short of the glory of God is not a uniquely Catholic tendency. Amen? It's not even unique to the Christian church. It is a human tendency. So, the Nativity School in Worcester, according to their press release, was founded in 2003 as an independent Catholic Jesuit middle school that provides a quality tuition-free education to boys from under-resourced communities in Worcester. Nativity is the only tuition-free Catholic school in the Diocese of Worcester, and the only school in central Massachusetts that solely educates students experiencing economic insecurity. Isn't that amazing? So the school is funded independently of the church and was founded by the College of Holy Cross. And in January 2021, the Nativity School in Worcester started flying the Pride and Black Lives Matter flags, following our students' call to express support for making our communities more just and inclusive, the school said. Almost the entire student body is Black boys. So as a multicultural school, the Nativity School said, the flags represent to us the inclusion and respect of all people. These flags simply state that we are all welcome at Nativity, and this value of inclusion is rooted in Catholic teaching. Both flags are now widely understood to celebrate the human dignity of our relatives, friends, and neighbors who have faced and continue to face hate and discrimination. Bishop Robert McManus, as leader of the Diocese of Worcester, indicated to Nativity and to the public that he believes flying these flags is inconsistent with Catholic teaching. In his decree, he says, "It is my contention that the gay pride flag represents support of gay marriage and actively living an LGBTQ lifestyle." And he goes on to say that the Catholic Church believes all lives matter, but the Black Lives Matter movement has co-opted the phrase and promotes a platform that directly contradicts Catholic social teaching on the importance and role of the nuclear family. It's very strange, I know. I actually don't, no, I mean, for real, I actually don't understand this part, and seeks to disrupt the family structure in clear opposition to the teachings of the Catholic Church. This is what he said. In March 2022, he told the school to remove the flags, and in mid-March 2022, the school's flags were torn down by an unknown person, an act that caused harm to the entire community. In late May, the bishop told Nativity that if the flags were not removed, Nativity would be prohibited from identifying itself as a Catholic school. A formal decree announcing the bishop's decision was published in the Catholic Free Press on this Thursday, June 16th. In it, he writes, "The flying of these flags in front of a Catholic school sends a mixed, confusing, and scandalous message to the public about the Church's stances on these important moral and social issues. In addition to stripping them of the ability to use the term Catholic, the bishop also stripped them of the fundamental, the sacraments and the sacramentals from the Nativity School, saying that communion would no longer be allowed to be practiced on school property or within the Diocese of Worcester. Bishop McManus has denied the communion at Christ's table to the young boys in the school because of the flags flying outside of it. Imagine suggesting that explicitly embracing the poorest and most marginalized in our communities is not Christian. Imagine suggesting that the Catholic school in Worcester, who educates the most economically impoverished families in the state of Massachusetts, is not furthering the mission of Christ. Imagine denying the sacraments to other Catholics because they desire to send the message to the entire community that we are all children of the same God. So here at First Church, I am proud to send this simple and scandalous message to the public about this church's stance on these important moral and social issues. God makes no mistakes. All people are beloved by God. All people deserve dignity. All lives are sacred. All are welcome to Christ's table of Holy Communion. All. Now that faith has come, St. Paul says in his letter to the Galatians, we are no longer subject to a disciplinarian. God's promise is for all. We don't need to earn our inheritance by being born into the right tribe. God's promise is for all. Following the law will not earn us a place in God's family either. Flying the right flags or eating the right foods or doing the right things, listening to the right men, saying the right words, belonging to the right religion or denomination. God's promise is available to all. All means all. And Jesus shows us a different way instead. The whole human race is part of the family of God. God's grace is scandalous, which is our birthright. And just as Jamie was promised at his baptism, that love is for keeps. St. Paul says that all of us belong to God, and so we belong to each other, too. We are one, St. Paul says. This unity does not seek to erase our differences, it celebrates them instead. Ultimately, though, our status as CEO or sports star or religious leader or politician or doctor is of no importance to God. It doesn't matter if the world calls us prisoner or foster kid or welfare recipient or illegal immigrant. It doesn't matter if we call ourselves believer or questioner or Catholic or Baptist or Congregationalist or Unitarian or don't careitarian. None of these labels hold any importance to God. In God's precious gaze, categories are wiped away. There is no longer Jew or Greek. There is no longer slave nor free. There is no longer male or female. There is no longer Christian or Muslim, gay or straight, transgendered or cisgendered, poor or wealthy, Republican or Democrat, black or white, North American, South American, African, European, Asian, or Australian, able-bodied or disabled, for all are one. All are one. Jesus doesn't draw boundaries, humans do. And like the Diocese of Worcester, this church too is made up of humans. This church too has occasionally denied God's promise for itself and for others. So, in the coming weeks and months, I want all of us to look around our church, and I want us to notice who is missing. Then I want us to ask ourselves how we could change. I don't want us to ask who have we lost and how can we get them back, but instead, who has yet to find us, who needs our saving message? And then I want us to ask ourselves, what are the barriers that we have created to welcoming them? What lines have we drawn? What flags have we raised or refused to raise? What unspoken rules or norms or forms of worship do we worship? Like on Pentecost, how can we learn to speak other languages in order to widen our embrace? Can we ask ourselves that? The church should look and feel as multi-age and multi-race and multi-ethnic and multi-generational and multi-class and multi as the family of God is. If you have ideas on how to expand and welcome and broaden our mission, we welcome that conversation. Send me an email or call me up or talk to somebody on the governance board. In the family of God, beloved, we are all in. We are all heirs to the promise. So this year, the First Church in Sterling endeavored to fulfill that promise once again, together as one, in spite of the overwhelming forces that threaten to separate us from each other. And we are still here. We are still faithful. We are still fulfilling our mission like never before. We are still gathered in the Spirit of Jesus. We are still committed to creating heaven on earth. I wondered if you might shout out some of the things that we accomplished this year in this mission. Does anybody want to shout something out? Food is love. 36 new members, actually, Andy. Yes. Get it right. And Andy, you're one of them. What else? Pizza Church. What else? Isaac. Donut Church, yes. What else? What was that? La Romana. We went back to La Romana. What else? Treasures of the Community Auction. We made $27,000. Yes. What else? Pub Theology. Deacons Fund. Absolutely. And the reverse offering that came out of the Deacons Fund, $4,000. What else? Community lunches came back. What else? Painting with Charlie, which never left, of course. What else? Voyagers, yes. Our group formerly known as Aging Gracefully. What else? Women's Retreat. Yay! I think there were 36 women on that retreat. Yep. What else? Isaac. What? The New York City, we didn't go on a New York City mission trip this year, but we have before, and we will again. Yes. What else? Christmas in the sanctuary, candles be darned. Just, God is watching. Yeah. What else? Climate change dialogue, yes. That's a lot that we accomplished in this crazy year. We reopened the church. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to the governance board, to the ministry leadership teams, to the diaconate, to the stewardship team, to the staff, to the worship team, to the Food is Love team, to the Walk on the Wild Side people, to the Saturday Meals team, to the La Romana Mission team, to the Treasures of the Community auction team, to the community lunch team, to the Sterling Community Theater, to Village Green Preschool, to the teens who made pies for Thanksgiving, to those who volunteered at Worcester Fellowship, to those who caroled on the Common, to those who partied at the Parsonage, to those who donated a box lunch to the La Romana Box Lunch Auction, to those who donated to the La Romana Online Auction, to those who donated something to the Treasures of the Community Online Auction, who bought something at any of these auctions, to those who taught Spirit Play and Kids Club and Donut Church and Owl and Pizza Church and Confirmation, to those who mentored a confirmand, to those who helped out, cared for kids in Kinder Watch, to those who provided childcare for events, to those who were on the Eat, Pray, Learn team or helped out with Eat, Pray, Learn or presented there, to those who led a book group or participated in a book group, to those who planned the women's retreat, to those who went on the women's retreat, to those who participated in Voyagers, to those who hosted a coffee hour, to those who made or brought something for coffee hour, to those of you who prayed for people, who asked for prayers on Facebook or through the prayer list, to those who participated in meal givers or who brought flowers to the homebound or who made a prayer shawl, who ushered or were a head usher, who sang in the choir, who offered your musical gifts in worship or lay read in worship, who assisted in communion, who delivered a testimonial, who had an animal or a backpack blessed, who served on the welcome team, who hosted newcomer coffee hour, who counted the offering, who provided flowers for the chancel, who gave your reverse offering money away, to those of you who attended worship at least once a year, and especially to the 36 of you who joined this year. If you are part of that group of 36 people who joined between 2021 and 2022, please will you rise in body or in spirit? Please will you rise? The psalmist asked, where is God's face? Look around. I mean it. Look around. Look around. Look into each other's faces. That is where God is. That is what God's face looks like. This is what it takes to accomplish the work of creating heaven on earth. All of us and all of this. There is no time but now, no people but us, and no way forward without turning toward one another. Amen.